Hettie the Highland Cow, Part 3, Ears, Horns, Coat. Take the small orange length and cut it in half. Cut it in half widthways. These will become the ears. Take one cut half, hold the wispy end, place on the mat and draw an outline of an ear onto the wall as shown. Fold the edges over and into the ear. Don't worry that your ear is becoming attached to the mat. It will peel off, but keep your stabs nice and shallow. Peel it off the mat and then start sculpting it to the shape that you want it. Turn the work over so you're working both sides. When you're near the shape you want it to be, if you stab repeatedly in the centre of the ear, that makes a cup shape. It brings the sides up, which is a more realistic ear for you. Have a look, see if it fits. Remove some of the fluff by holding on tightly and then pulling small sections off. Now you have to do exactly the same for the other ear. Positioning the ears to the top side of the face like that will give you a cute appearance to your cow. Stab it in just a few times to hold it, and that gives you the ability to check that your ears are actually where you want them to be. Looks good. Then just stab them in to attach them firmly in place. She's looking like a cow. Next we're going to make the horns, pipe cleaner and the light brown wool. Divide this wool into half and then half again. You only need a very thin piece of wool for this. Smooth it out. Check for any little bits of hay in the wool, because it needs to be nice and smooth. You're going to wind this around the pipe cleaner really tightly, really smoothly. Don't worry if there's a few little black bits showing right at the end, because horns are multicoloured, so it doesn't matter if a little bit of black's showing, but you need to keep that nice and pointed on that end. And you can see I'm using the technique of turning the pipe cleaner rather than winding the wool around. Smoothing it out, keep it really nice and smooth. And then just travel down to the middle of the pipe cleaner. You don't have to go all the way, just to the middle. And then back towards the top. This puts a bit more bulk in the mid part of the horn. So really nice and smooth. I'm not going to the end again because I want to keep that end nice and pointy. I'm going to pop it on the mat and stab it in. Be really careful of the wire. And then do the same for the other end, exactly the same. Smooth, tight and even is the ideal. If yours isn't, then just simply unwind it and do it again. You've got a lot of the light brown wool there, so you can afford to do it 2 or 3 times really. So I've just taken it to the middle and then back up to the end, smoothing it out. And then give that a little stab. And then I just roll it in the palms of my hand, which helps the fibres smooth out and tighten up. And then you want a little bit more bulk on that, so they look a little bit skinny. So pull off another length, little tiny length, smooth it out, and then just wind that onto the midsection. Again, just giving it another light stab to secure those fibres together. The very central bit will be covered with her hair at the end, so if there's a little bit of black showing in the middle, it doesn't matter. It's the end bits that are the important bits. They should be nice and pointy and nice and even. Don't put the horns on yet. If you do, they'll get crushed and will spoil it. So just put them aside for later on. Putting her together. So take a moment to work out what's the front end, what's the back end, and where she's going to be looking. Is forward, to one side, to the other side, up or down. You might have a position that you want her to go in your house, for instance, looking up or down. Have a decide and then tack in the head where you want her roughly to be looking. Just a few stabs to tack it in. Make sure you leave about a 1 centimetre neck. And when you're happy, stab in to secure. Take the long length and divide that into 3 pieces, smooth them out, and then wrap one round her neck like a scarf and stab in. This is going to form a nice neck so that when you put your coat on, well, you put your cow's coat on, it gives it something to attach to. Once that's stuck, do the same with the second long length. And then the last one. You'll find on the internet there's many ways of adding a head to a body. This is just one way that I've discovered that suits me, and I thought I'd share it with you. Dodgy bit of camera work, sorry. Next we have Hettie's coat. This is a good place to stop and go and get a cup of tea because making the coat is quite a long process. Take the big piece of wool that you've got left in your box, hold it firmly with one hand and then pull little bits off the end. You almost have to snap the wool. You can see by the effort I'm making it's quite tough. You only want little tiny bits. They can be various different sizes, don't worry about it too much because you want some big pieces and little pieces. Take each piece in your hand and twist each end to form a moustache. That's what I'm calling these pieces. Takes a long time to make lots and lots of them. You want big ones and you want small ones. The big ones will be for her body and the smaller ones will be for her head. So these small ones will be used right at the end to cover the horns. Bigger ones for her body. You should use most 3/4 of that piece of orange. I actually had to make more than that, about double the amount that I've shown you there. So to fit them onto the body, place the first moustache over the side of her tummy, like so, and then stab into the centre of it in a little line. Take the top one over at an angle and then stab in, and then you get this nice shaggy coat effect. So stab it in a line, bend it over, stab it again. There you go. You have to do this all the way round and make a little skirt. Don't start travelling up her back, just keep to this pattern and it'll all make sense in the end. So all that stabbing that you did making the body and making it firm is now really important, because if your body is too soft, this wool would just disappear into the soft body as you stab. So it was, it was worthwhile doing all that stabbing. You could put a wax on the end of your moustaches. I would try maybe a hair wax, but I'm not sure about its long-term effect, what it would look like in 2 years' time, whether it would be crusty and horrible. So I haven't used it, but you might want to experiment. It looks a bit painful. So as you can see, I've put a few layers on, but still going around the body, not covering the back of the back. And I'm moving up the shoulder and around the chest and up the neck a little way. As you're working and your hands are touching the coat, you will crush it slightly, but is it really easy to pull the coat out again with the needle? Just flick it out and it'll puff up and look great. So the tail, I've made a plaited tail. You could make just a plain straight tail, it's up to you. At this stage you'll be becoming a bit of an expert, so you choose how you would like it. Taking a bit of the orange and I'm going to pull off about a centimetre width. I'm going to divide that into 3, leaving it attached at the top. So I'm not pulling it solely into 3, it's still attached, but keep the lengths as even as you can. Pinch the top and stab that in. This fluffy bit will be what you're going to use to attach the tail to the top of your top of the back there. So you want to leave that nice and fluffy. Then I attach this to the mat just with the needle, and then I plait it. So I smooth out the lengths, so make sure they're nice and smooth. Be very gentle with them. If one snaps off, just start again with another piece. So you take one over the other, and then over the other. The outside goes into the middle, outside into the middle, outside into the middle, and you just keep doing that and your plait will form. It's magic. If you want a plain tail, then you wouldn't plait it, you just felt it, you just pop it on the mat and felt it so that it binds together. When you've gone down about 4 centimetres of plait, just stab it, which will bind it and stop it unravelling. And then I like to have a little fluffy bit at the end of the plait. That makes it look a little bit more natural. And to get that, hold the plait really tightly at the end, like that, and then pull off any excess bits, but you know, as I said, I like to leave a fluffy bit. Then work out where the tail is going to go and stab in that top fluffy end, and that will attach it nicely. That's it. And then put some more moustaches around her bottom, around that tail area, to make it nice and fluffy. When you have about a good centimetre on her back, then place the moustaches over her back like this. Not the way we've been doing it before, but just straight over her back. And then we're going to take a needle and stab in a line where her spine would be. And this is going to make a nice parting in her coat. So it's straight along where her spine would be, ending at her tail. Bit tricky. Just get her in the right position for you. If you've squished her legs, don't worry, because they'll pop back with a bit of persuasion at the end. So all I'm doing is stabbing in a line along the spine. And then that gives me a nice finish to that coat on her body. So I'm just going to put a few more on her neck, blend that in with the stuff that I've just done on her back. And finally we need to just find those horns again, pop into position on the top of her head, put a few stabs in, and then just have a look to see if that's in the right position. If you're happy, then stab a little bit more. Doesn't have to be super stuck because you're going to put some moustaches over it, which will hold it in place. So take your small moustaches that you made earlier, place over the horn, and then stab into the horn a little bit, but mainly either side of the horn into the head. And that will hold the horns securely in place. Then any more moustaches you put on are decorative, so spend some time just making her look gorgeous. Add ones if you want to, don't if you don't want to. And then finally I tip the horns up, just bend them right at the tips. If you want to, you don't have to do that. Ta-da! Welcome to the world, Hettie. Well done. Thank you for doing it. Please send me a picture at Facebook. Never needle felt better.